Just ahead on American Black Journal, the Ford Freedom Award celebrates the achievements of African American women. Plus, a new book about U of M booster Ed Martin reveals the untold story about the Fab Five basketball scandal. Don't go away. American Black Journal starts now.
American Black Journal is funded by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first.
How does diversity bring energy to us all? At DTE Energy, we believe that it's the contributions of all that build great communities. As a company, we grow stronger by welcoming the unique perspectives of everyone. As community members, we support our state's broad culture and heritage. From working closely with women and minority-owned suppliers to embracing our local cultures, DTE Energy is powering diversity. The DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television. Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Ford has a long history of honoring the achievements of great men and women. We also recognize that honoring means ensuring their legacies are carried forward. 2018 marks the 50th anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. To continue his legacy, Ford is partnering with the King Center and encouraging everyone to perform 50 acts of kindness. Between now and August 28, go to mlk54.org and register your act of kindness. Add Ford in the group name, as Ford will recognize select actions from our Southeast Michigan community. Perform your simple act of kindness, and together we'll carry forward Dr. King's dream of creating a beloved community.
Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. The Ford Freedom Award is celebrating its 20th year with the theme Black Girl Magic. The annual event is a partnership between Ford Motor Company and the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History to honor the contributions of African Americans. This year's Ford Freedom Award recipient is the late civil rights leader, Dr. Dorothy Height. The Scholar Award goes to Jessica Matthews, a Harvard-educated inventor, and the Rising Star honoree is teenage entrepreneur Asia Newsom from Detroit, who incidentally was a guest on this show a few years ago. Here to tell us more is Pamela Alexander, Director of Community Development for the Ford Motor Company Fund. Pam, welcome to American Black Journal.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so I love these awards each year.
Yeah,
I love
20 years. Can you believe it?
I know, right? It's a long time. Let's talk about the recipients. We'll start with Dr. Height.
Of course. You know, Dr. Height is an icon, a legend. She was at the table with Dr. King and all of his closest advisors. Just really someone who played a major role both in women's issues, but also in the general civil rights movement.
Yeah.
She's also special because when we honored Coretta Scott King, you know, one of the awards is always posthumously. Dr. Height was the scholar. So this is actually the first time in the history of the Freedom Awards that we're honoring someone as an honoree who was also a scholar.
Who was also a scholar. That's really cool.
Yeah, she just, she had amazing perspectives. One of my favorite stories about her was she said when she took pictures with that group of illustrious leaders, she found that if she stood on the side, when the picture went to print, they'd crop her out.
Oh, is that right?
Not the leaders, but whoever was printing, whatever paper, whatever was printing, would crop her out.
Then figure that's got to be somebody.
Yeah, we don't need her in the picture. And so she said she learned that you have to wait. She'd wait until the last minute, and she'd jump in the middle of the picture.
Move.
And you know, it was both literal and figurative in the sense that she said, never let yourself be taken out of the picture.
Yeah.
So that's what we're celebrating with Black Girl Magic. These women who are not
cool.
allowing themselves to be taken out of the picture, or putting them front and center on issues that are so important.
Yeah, this year's scholar is an inventor from Harvard. That's a pretty big deal.
Yes, Harvard MBA. Yeah, she's pretty impressive. Has several patents. Jessica Matthews, and she Jessica O. Matthews. She invented a soccer ball, socket, right, when she was 19. That harnessed the energy of playing soccer, and then there's a special adapter and you could put a light on it. So a kid could actually, for example, go and play soccer after 30 minutes. It generates enough energy to light the light for 3 hours. So theoretically, you go straight from soccer to homework. You know what I mean? You could use it to light up your schoolwork, which I think is an amazing intervention for someone who's 19. And since then, she's gone on. She's got a company called Uncharted Power. She's an amazing entrepreneur. That works on that type of kinetic energy and how do you harness that energy. Dual citizens, Nigerian and U.S. citizens.
Really?
So,
wow.
yeah,
That's really interesting,
exactly.
too. And Asia Newsom, who was a guest on this show when she was really little, as my memory is that
well, she started when she was 5.
barely get her up into the chair, but she was doing interesting things even then.
Her candle business,
yes,
which I think
she
has
was on
over
here with
$100,000 in revenue.
Is that right?
Yes,
wow.
it's amazing, and she's training other young people to be entrepreneurs. You know, I kind of look and go, what was I doing when I was 5? I certainly wasn't starting a business.
All right.
And some of her proceeds go to homelessness. So she's also a social entrepreneur because she's giving back to the economy. So all Black Girl Magic, just an amazing theme this year, and it's exciting because it is 20 years, and that's a landmark for the Ford Freedom
So how
Awards.
did you come to the idea that this was the year to celebrate women exclusively here?
Well, you know, we started on this. We're almost starting on the next year before the previous year is over. We always wanted to honor Dr. Height just because of the role she played, and then there are actually rules about how long it has to be before you can be placed on the floor, because of course Dr. Height's name will go into the ring of the genealogy at the Charles H. Wright.
Okay.
So we wanted to honor Dr. Height, and it just so happened in the year of the woman, as they say for a lot of people. You know, a lot of women doing great things as always. That we would honor Dr. Height and Black Girl Magic.
Let's talk about the role of women right now, not just in terms of this moment in sort of women's assertion in the realm of sexual harassment, but also the role in politics and culture. I feel like this really is the year of the woman in a lot of ways that were unexpected. I mean, I don't think any of us thought 8-10 months ago this is what we would be thinking about.
And you know, the interesting thing that you say that is when you talk to people, say for example, Dr. Height or some of the women from that movement, and they say, we weren't doing this because we wanted 30 years down the line someone to say, oh, you're an icon. We were doing it because it needed to be done. And I think that's what you're seeing in a lot of the things that are going on with women becoming more active. You know, I'm hearing record numbers of women running for political office. They're just doing it because women are doing that because they need to be done. They're not doing it for accolades or because 40 years from now they want someone to say, oh, remember, you know, she did this. So it's amazing to see, you know, the power of women harnessed, and I love it celebrating it.
Let's talk some about the Ford Freedom Fund and the work you guys are up to. I know you do a lot of work here in Detroit. You also, we should mention, you're a sponsor of this show, which we appreciate.
Important show.
But you guys are really deeply involved, I feel like, in the conversation, the narrative about the way Detroit is changing.
Oh, absolutely. You know, not many companies can say they're as old as we are. We're over 115 or something this year. And we've been in the community for that long. If you just look over the past several years, our investment just in Southeast Michigan, because remember, we're a global company, so Ford Motor Company Fund is also global. We're in 50 or so countries. But our investment just in Southeast Michigan is over $120 million.
Wow.
Right? We've been here through thick and thin, good times and bad. Budgets go up and down, of course, depending on the economy. But, you know, we are fully invested. You know, we have 2 community centers, one in Southwest Detroit and one in Fisher Upper Elementary on the east side.
We've had Sean here talking, Sean Wilson here talking about that.
Absolutely, and they're community driven, meaning we really care about the voice of the community. When we put in a community center, we listen. The first thing we do is listen to the community and say, what would you like?
What do you want?
What's important to you in your community? We build great cars and trucks, but we're not prescriptive or arrogant in saying this is what the community needs. We want to work with communities, and that's what we've always done. Those Ford Resource and Engagement Centers are multi-million-dollar investments in the community, in addition to everything we've always done to support the arts, to do things like the Ford Fireworks that bring the community together. It's just the hunger relief. So we're pretty deep in this region, and it's important to us. So we're glad to be a part of Detroit's resurgence, but we're as proud that we have always been there.
Always been
there. This isn't something new for us.
Yeah.
Right.
And talk about the collaboration with the Wright Museum
Right.
on the awards. Another super important institution.
Absolutely. Until the Smithsonian opened, it was actually the largest institution
Right.
of African American history in the world.
Yeah.
So now it would be the second largest. And the Ford Freedom Awards, I always like to point out, any sponsorships that are gotten, Ford underwrites the cost or sponsors the event. So it's a fundraiser for the Wright, because if they're able to get sponsorships or sell tickets to events in the past or any sponsorships for this year, that money goes straight to the Wright. And it's a very, very important institution to our community. We're really, really lucky to have it here, an institution of that quality that has been here. And if you walk in there at any point, it's about history, but it's also about culture. There's, you know, hustle, instruction going on. I'm still going to make it to one of those. I forget. Right? I think they're on. I can't remember. I think they're on Sundays or something like that. But there's all kinds of things going on. African World Festival, which is a great event that we have during the summer. So I love the role that museum is playing in our community.
Yeah. And is there a way that the public can engage with the Freedom Fund Awards?
Well, this year we are. It's two pieces really. It's a morning. Education has always been a big part of the Freedom Awards, right? So we'll bring a couple thousand students in because, as always, we'll be awarding scholarships. We always have an essay contest. So this contest is around Black Girl Magic and talk about someone you know that celebrates Black Girl Magic, and that's always fun. And so we bring the kids in, and it's very noisy. I'm always very appreciative of teachers having sat through that every year and listening to the screaming and the enthusiasm, because it's not a gift that I have. Let's just put it that way.
You need a lot of patience.
So we'll have several thousand students by invitation, and we will have a small luncheon, and it's during the museum's open hours. Around noon on the 22nd. So museum is open to the public at the time that we'll be doing the dedication and installation in the floor.
And viewers can go to our website or yours to find out.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes.
All right, well, congratulations again.
Thank you for having us on. And
always great to talk to you.
Thanks for what you're doing on American Black Journal. We love it.
All right. Up next, a new book about one of the biggest scandals in college basketball. But first, we continue our look back at episodes of this program over the last 50 years. Here's an excerpt from the Detroit Black Journal 20th anniversary show.
We do have 4 former hosts with us, 4 former people who were involved with the show, and we want to go back and talk to all of them right now. And I know this is a question that's been posed to all of you. It's still posed to me now, and I frankly get tired of answering it. And that's, in this day, in 1989, why do we need a Detroit Black Journal? Have we gone beyond that? You know, why is that necessary? Anybody want to tackle that first? Ron smiled.
I want to jump at it because they asked that question with Tony and Gil in 1969. They asked me that question in 1979, and still today are we asking that in 1989. It's almost like the situation and the struggle continues, and we need Black Journal because we have greater problems than we even had then. And I can talk about the struggle in 1966, 64, and so forth, when I saw Tony out in the street with the old Cynthia Scott case and so forth. And Gil and many of the shows that he's done, and you know, when Juanita has been involved in. We today need Black programming so that we can survive as a people and maintain our cultural legacy. And if we don't have Black programming, if we don't have a means of communications, I think that our people are going to be in for a terribly, terribly rough time. I can't say it any more specifically than that. This community, the people in this audience, fought to keep Black Journal on the air. They fought to keep it on the air. And it wouldn't be here if it were not for this community. And it deserves to be here for another 20 years, or as long as it takes for us to gain a smattering of liberation.
Juanita mentioned.
Trudy, I think you also have to say that Detroit Black Journal has been, you know, the entree for a great number of extremely talented persons who would never have had the opportunity to write, to produce, to direct, and to do all the things that are necessary for putting a show together. And in that sense, it offers a continuing need and a continuing training ground for young persons to get into the broadcast industry and to move over into the new technologies and the new industries, into cable television, into videotex and many technologies which impact significantly upon Black families and Black economic development.
One of the biggest investigations in NCAA history involved payments made to the University of Michigan's Fab Five basketball players by booster Ed Martin in the 1990s. Now, a new book titled The Booster reveals new details about the college scandal and chronicles Martin's life as a supporter of many basketball players. The book's author is my guest today. He is also Ed Martin's son, Carl. Welcome to American Black Journal.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm somebody who went to the University of Michigan in the Fab Five era. They were freshmen when I was a senior. So I remember the craziness that attended their arrival on campus. I remember the craziness of that year once they started to play, and then the next few years as they hung around. And I can probably tell you the first time I heard the name Ed Martin and how different the trajectory of that story was after that. Tell me why it's important for you to tell the story of your father now.
Well, now is the time because it's been a labor of love for many years to produce this document, and it's ready. But there was a catalyst for the book many years ago in 2003, which is the year my father passed. My mother also passed. But prior to her passing, she called me to her bedside, which was a strange thing, but then she requested that I tell the full story, and good, bad, and otherwise, not to clear his name, but to allow people to know his name and what it really represented. Yeah,
and the book makes it clear that you feel like he has been badly misrepresented in terms of his role in all of this, and more generally, the kind of person he was.
Yes, and so when you don't know the motivation of a person, sometimes what you see can be distorted by one's personal views. Ed Martin, my father, was a person who cared a lot about his community, and he cared deeply about young people and their plight. He understood that growing up in Jim Crow South, that there were a lot of pressures and lack of opportunity that he experienced. So being in the North at this time, he wanted to provide a smoother pathway to the successes of life that could be offered to someone who matriculated correctly in school, and in this case had a good academic and athletic career. Both were important to Ed.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the attraction for him, not just to the Fab Five, but to the many other young people that he tried to help out.
Yes, and you know, ironically, maybe there's a handful of the kids that he helped that became, let's say, pro athletes. There are probably a couple dozen that were great in college, but there were, you know, over a few hundred that he assisted with that he just created a better atmosphere for them to live in, to grow in, to mature in, and become the best people they could be.
In the story of the scandal that unfolds around the Fab Five, he's painted as essentially a payoff guy, right? Somebody who is giving illicit payments to the players. You cast that in a little bit of a different light as well.
Yes, you know, one thing I focus on in the booster is where the money came from. And I will admit that it came from illicit means through a numbers operation.
Not uncommon.
Certainly not.
In Detroit or in African American. I mean, you think about the history of money making in the African American community. Everyone knows what the numbers are.
Exactly. And the 3 and 4 digits are probably played, and I will say booked in greater volumes by the state now than anybody in the street. You know? So, I mean, the act wasn't so egregious, but actually those funds enabled Ed to give the support that he wanted to lend to programs as well as athletes, as well as non-athletes and people just in the community. So he was quite generous, and that generosity spanned all the people that he encountered.
I also feel like in the book you're a little irritated or angered with the Fab Five and the role that they played in the telling of the story once all this happened. You feel like they didn't come forward and sort of tell the truth about what happened.
Well, you know, and I'm going to single out one of the Fab Five.
I feel like Chris Webber was the worst of them.
He was the worst because no one else took a podium and declared that Ed Martin preyed on kids and loved them, and then in turn wanted to trade that love in for financial gain, which was absolutely untrue. You know, it's one thing to not lend support, but it's another thing to determine that you're going to tell untruths about a situation, which he clearly knew.
Why do you think Chris Webber did that? Why did he say what he did about your father?
You know, it'd probably take a psychological examination of 12 months to figure that out. But I will say that I think that sometimes people want to run away from situations that they're not necessarily proud of and that they don't want repeated in their current situation. You know, you become a millionaire and you forget that you ever didn't have money. You forget the people that help you get there out of convenience and out of the fact that you don't want to relive those moments. But other than that, I really don't understand why he did it, because he could have experienced that the levity that success brought him without trying to demean someone else, in this case, Ed.
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, I think it's reasonable as an outside observer to look at this and say, well, was it really possible that he didn't expect something back from all of these young men that he was helping? How do you sort of answer that?
And I think that's the great question. And the answer to it is Ed was generous and he gave generously to many people. But there were certain individuals in his circle, certain players that came to him and asked for additional help. That's help passes normal generosity. And when they made that request and he answered with a yes, they also had a agreement to repay that additional support at least. So that's where the repayment comes in. For instance, you know, Jalen Rose remits and he did receive money, but he didn't ask for that additional support. So the responsibility to repay doesn't rest on his shoulders like it does a Chris Webber, you know.
Because he took more.
He took more. He asked for that additional money, and I was there when he said what he would do, which was to pay it back. Hey, Ed, you know I'm going to make it. I'm going to be a success, and when I do, I'm going to pay back everything and really take care of you.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was his motivation for that additional success.
Yeah.
I mean, giving.
Yeah. You know, there's a conversation now going on about the nature of college sports, the role that money plays in it, and the fact that players don't benefit. Still, you know, today, even with all the changes, I mean, you think of how much bigger sports is now than it was in the early 90s with the Fab Five, and the players still get nothing. You know, I wonder what someone like Ed Martin might have made of that.
You know, one thing he knew was that the athletes make a sacrifice. Even though they're getting a scholarship to attend the school, they make a sacrifice to attend the university. For example, if a rookie NBA player gets the minimum salary, he's going to get in excess of $800,000. In football, a rookie is in excess of $400,000. Well, if they forego the professional side of their career for a year or two, they're sacrificing that salary.
That money.
And then the benefit of their athleticism is thrust upon these universities, who then make a lot more than that for their skills being utilized under the banner of whichever university or college they're attending.
Yeah, yeah. We've got about a minute left. I wonder if you've heard from any of the Fab Fives about the book.
Jalen texts back and forth with me the first time the Free Press had excerpts that Sunday. And I speak with Jimmy King fairly regularly.
He was my favorite. I loved Jimmy
You know
King.
what? He has a great aura about him.
Yeah.
Jimmy King is a very good guy, and I appreciate him. And he helped me with this project, The Booster, the most of any Fab Fiver. So,
yeah. Jimmy King would play defense no matter what else was going on the floor, right?
And he'll tell you today, and I did it for the team.
Yeah.
He said, you know, I wanted to win for us all.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
And
I appreciate you having me.
Here.
Yes. Okay.
That's our program for today. Thanks for watching. You can get more information about our guests at AmericanBlackJournal.org, and you can always connect with us on Facebook and on Twitter. We will see you next time.
As American Black Journal looks ahead at the next 50 years, we want to hear from you, the viewers. Tell us what you think of this program and what you'd like to see on future episodes. Visit AmericanBlackJournal.org to take a quick survey and share your opinion. Thank you.
American Black Journal is funded by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation, a partner with communities where children come first.
How does diversity bring energy to us all? At DTE Energy, we believe that it's the contributions of all that build great communities. As a company, we grow stronger by welcoming the unique perspectives of everyone. As community members, we support our state's broad culture and heritage. From working closely with women and minority-owned suppliers to embracing our local cultures, DTE Energy is powering diversity. The DTE Energy Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public Television. Masco Corporation is proud to manufacture innovative and environmentally friendly products for the home. Delta faucets, craft-made in Merillat cabinets, and Behr brand paints have all been designed with you in mind. Masco and its family of companies, serving Michigan communities since 1929.
Ford has a long history of honoring the achievements of great men and women. We also recognize that honoring means ensuring their legacies are carried forward. 2018 marks the 50th anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. To continue his legacy, Ford is partnering with the King Center and encouraging everyone to perform 50 acts of kindness. Between now and August 28, go to mlk54.org and register your act of kindness. Add Ford in the group name, as Ford will recognize select actions from our Southeast Michigan community. Perform your simple act of kindness, and together we'll carry forward Dr. King's dream of creating a beloved community.